Okay, so my daughters called me. Let's continue. I'm treated in the worst possible way by many people in Israel, but by, I would say, thousands of people that surround me all my life, and it's only getting worse. And when I understood that this is actually the situation, like 4 years ago, after so much hardship came, of course it wasn't in a day, but so much hardship accumulated, and I was treated in such an unfair way that I understood that, something is going on over here. I understood that something is not normal with my life. That it cannot be explained by bad luck or bad, decisions or by just, that life is shitty. But, that there is, that we must break the paradigms and understand, and discover the reality. And I've been doing it since, and reality is so complicated, and there are issues of history and culture and whatever, but it's very important always to stress out in the most bold way. These are not things that happen by chance. The Israelis do not treat me like garbage and try to humiliate me in any possible way by chance. No, they do it because that's their nature. That is their nature. This is the nature of the people. And it's not a rational behavior at all. It's irrational behavior, completely irrational, and it's going to destroy them completely. And it already destroyed many of them during the time of the state of Israel exists, actually. And they just do it again. But it's not by chance. It doesn't happen by chance. And they do it because that's what they are. They are the worst people on the face of the earth. And it's not that other people from other nations do not know it. They know it very well. And it's not that they cannot change the situation or they didn't have any sane situation. The opposite is true. My life is kind of like a project that is managed by the strong intelligence communities of this world. Of course, the strongest one and the most dominant one is the intelligence community of the United States of America. And of course, they know me for a long, long time, and that's what they decided that will be my fate. And I understood very quickly, and I've spoken about it so much, and I don't want to repeat myself too much, but one of the first things that was clear to me is that the Israelis are always conducting all sorts of tests to me, presumably without my knowledge, and their goal is always to fail me in the test, or to draw me in a bad way, to paint me in a bad way. And this was done for the eyes of spectators, which presumably, can only be other intelligence communities. First of all, the one of the United States. And it was also immediately apparent to me that the only reason that the spectators can actually eat this shit is because they want to eat this shit very much, and that they pay good money for this shit. That they paid a lot of money for all these videos and lying and false testimonies that I understood very well that are by fate throughout my life, and it's only getting worse, and that they want this shit. They want this shit very much from the Israelis, and the Israelis give them this shit and receive good money for it. But I didn't understand why is that? Why is this irrational and crazy theater going on? And only after a lot of time, I understood at least the outline of it. And the outline of it is that I am needed in order, basically for two things, and another third thing was added pretty lately in the story, which is perhaps the coolest of all, and so I'll mention it. But first of all, I am needed in order for their I understood that there are female let's call them titans, creatures that that are that the intelligence services of this world, especially the Israeli one, but also in the United States and other places, they like very much to hold, because they serve as as companions to the homosexual and pedophiles that are so abundant in these intelligence services. And also sometimes they are actually work in these intelligence services, like as I mean, whatever. But I mean, not always. They don't have to work. They can work in the intelligence services, and they can work like any other job. I mean, but anyway, they are related to the intelligence services. I mean, they are under the, let's say, under the aegis of the state where they live. I mean, so they can work, but I mean, but in any way, they are needed because of several reasons, and I understand that actually there is a history behind it, and it was not always the same. But I understand that right now, the main reason is actually kind of like, I understood that in the past they were like also to things that they did. I mean, of course, everything completely immoral, because everything that the intelligence services are doing is completely immoral, especially in Israel, but all over the world. But Israel is the bottom of the barrel, and it always have been. It actually was worse in the past. Like, I mean, the worst time was actually, before I was even born. Like, I mean, not that it's like, it's not something that, not that the current people of the intelligence services of Israel can be proud of it, because they are the scum of the earth, and they should all die, and they will all die, but in the hand of like much better and stronger creatures than they are. But if you want to be like completely, and I've spoken about it quite a bit in the past, like if you want to be like set like the historical records like straight, as they say, so they are not the worst like in the history of Israel. The worst actually was before I was even born. Like in the 60s and the 70s, they were even worse than now. And I've spoken about it quite a bit, but let's not, discuss it now. So they were always the worst. And they're actually they were even worse than now in the past. But so everything they do is immoral. But currently, and of course that, whoever works for them is doing like terrible stuff, and this includes, of course, the Titans that work for them. But I understood that currently, like at the current situation right now in Israel and other places in the West, but not only in the West, the main reason that they want them is simply as companions for their for the people. Because the people want companions, and from their perspective, it's good that they can't have sex with them, because they don't want to have sex with them, because it's like it's optimal from their perspective, because they are homosexuals and pedophiles, so, and they do whatever they do. Sometimes they don't do nothing. Each one with their own story, but they don't need those females like for sexual pleasure. On the contrary, specifically they are very coveted by them, because they don't need them for this particular purpose, but they're needed for other purposes, as I said, companions, and they depend on me for some reason. I didn't know about the Neros then, but I suspected about it and written about it like as a Socratic matter. And I also understood very quickly that there is some kind of a drug, and to this day I don't really understand what it's actually doing to humans. I actually by now I don't even care. In the past it was something that I was trying to investigate, but today it's I really don't care whatever it does. It's coming from the body of the Titans, but in order for that to be generated, they need this thing thing from my body. And naturally, it's kind of like it's a fetishism, or at least let's just say kind of like perversia, perversion of natural state of affairs that, of course, belongs to sexual reproduction between males and females in the home planets of these Titans. For certain, the humans here took they took the natural state of affairs that belongs to sexual reproduction of another species, and they manipulated it for their own needs in a way that for certain creates victims, and the main victim is myself, because it's imperative from their perspective that I will never even know about it, and certainly will never get anything in return. On the contrary, I should be the poorest person possible, and that I need to be to be the scum of the earth, in order for them to be always sure that they will get it actually for me. Because if I am rich, I can say, no, I don't want to give it to you, I want to do something else. And this is the main scenario that they want to actually avoid. They want me to be their slave and their whore. So this is the second reason why it's important for them. And I understood that both of these reasons are not true only for Israel, they are true for other places as well. But the other places are mostly are democracies or pretend to be democracies, and they don't want this crime to be committed on their own like turf, like on their own land. So it's great for them that all this cruelty and torture will be done on a ground where everybody knows very well that the intelligence services have no moral like qualms whatsoever, and they do whatever they want. Like they are the wars of the wars, and it's known for very well. So they do it. It's not done on like U.S. like territory where with Congress, and like there are lots of like laws like regarding like human rights, and and there is Supreme Court, and of course there's tons of like NGOs, and not to even and not even this is without even like starting to speak about like modern values and like war culture. So it's so much headache like in the United States. So it's better not be done there. But on another place like where it's everybody knows that it's a garbage land. That every cruelty can be conducted without any problem at all. And of course, the only thing that the people of the lovely people of the United States need to do is to give a little bit of money to the scumbag Israeli sharks. And of course, that the Israelis manipulate them and lying to them to get more money than than it was set. But it's a known thing with Israelis. Everybody that is doing any type of business with Israelis know that you should allocate like maybe like a 25% or so like overhead for like the corruption and the theft by the Israeli side. So it's okay, but in the general term it's still very low price from the American perspective to pay for what they get, which is two great things, both the Titans and also they get the ability to get the drug that they like so much. So for them, it doesn't matter if the Israelis, lie to them from time to time and steal some money, because that's how it's done with Israelis. The important stuff is that they will get the stuff, and that I will never have any say on the matter, because they don't want me to perhaps like hinder the supply chain of these things, and that everything will be always kept a secret from the rest from society, because the last people in the world that will actually open their mouths are the Israelis, because they are the worst scumbags, and these kind of people will never speak about anything. And it should also be said that there is another issue here, that Israel is a parasitic state, as I always say. They do not create they do not manufacture anything at all. This is parasitic state, and it always have been. It depends on other nations for everything, for food, for energy, for whatever you just name it. They depend on it. They don't manufacture almost anything. Yes, they have a little bit of high-tech industry. I'm very well aware of it. I worked in this industry for a long time, and I have my own vision. Okay, so this is the one place where actually people actually produce things, but even that industry is not what it seemed to be, because it's extremely fragile, and it's built with immense dependence on the United States, and it's done so not by chance, but by design of both sides. Both the Israelis, they like to be parasites and create things that that can fly away in one day, and the Americans like it very much that nothing of importance is actually created in Israel. And that if they want, they can just shut down the entire industry in Israel in one day, and it will not be a big deal from their perspective. So that's the way it is. So, and it's also great not only from the perspective of the United States, but from the perspective of other nations as well, because they know that such a nation cannot yes, they can cheat, they can get more money than settles, and they can do all sorts of shenanigans that they are known for, but they will never they cannot jump too high. They cannot decide one day that they do not supply the Titan robots or the Theo the drug until I don't know, their demands on the international in the United Nations or in the international I don't know, sphere will be met. They cannot do, things sometimes people in more ambitious states like Russia or China or or I mean, in the past it was commonly done by like a European powers that I mean they decided like Germany decided many times not and I mean that I mean they do not get enough like in kind of like I mean in a supposedly I mean like international I mean trade place and I mean and now I mean they deserve more, so they I mean they should be given like Austria, or they should be given I mean this is not a thing that Israel can do, not because they don't like wars or because they don't like money. They like money very much and they like wars very much, and they have their handful of wars like always all the time. This is a warmongering society, but they understand I mean, but the reality is very simple. This is a parasitic state. They don't have like cards in their sleeve. I mean, if they do too much noise, I mean, they will just, I mean, the other nations will just stop supplying them weapons, wheat, rice, like energy, and all sorts of like manufacturing goods, textiles, and they will stay with nothing besides, I mean, a little bit of software and a lot of noise that they like to produce. So they cannot like like flex their muscles too much because they are parasites, and this is always have been like that since way before the Israeli was state was even established. So excellent. I mean, that's the optimal place for all the cruelties to be conducted. The place that is parasitic, so they cannot flex too much and like threat to stop the supply, and the place that I mean they have no real values at all, and like intelligence community that is known for their evil ways and cruelty, and like they can do whatever they want, and so everything is like I mean tremendous. Everything is great. So now, in addition, another third issue, I mean, was added. I mean, and I spoke about it quite a bit in the past, but not recently. So maybe it should be added because this is perhaps the most disgusting of all. I mean, it's so disgusting, and its implications are so horrendous that I mean, it's inhuman to even think about it. But yes, this is something that was carried out by Israel and other nations as well. Again, first and foremost, the United States of America. In that the following. So it was actually. Proven and very, I mean, demonstrably, I mean, and very, I mean, concisely, and without a doubt, 7.5 years ago, it was proven that I can actually have sexual reproduction, not only sexual relationship, because I've done sex before, but sexual reproduction with females. And this sexual reproduction, I mean, process, the sexual relationship can lead to pregnancy and childbirth of wonderful like creatures. It was done first, I mean, 7.5 years ago, and then again 11 months later, like almost immediately after that, we had another child, both daughters, Orin and Hila, our two daughters, and they were all, I mean, and they were born like I mean, thanks to God, very healthy and like I mean, and like you know, cute, smart, like everything is great with them. I mean, and it's still like that. I mean, of course, in that half year they are suffering immensely because they forcibly detached from me. But in general, of course, I mean, their life were pretty, I mean, I would say normal, and they are, I mean, it was proven that they are, I mean, like wonderful little creatures that are not Homo sapiens, and they were born on Earth without a doubt. their birth is they were born in Hadassah Har HaTzofim, like in a well-known hospital, and their birth was, I mean, documented. So I mean, there are no questions about it. I mean, not that there should have been, but I mean, since I am not like a titan, even though I mean, the Israelis always, I mean, lied about me and said that either that I am like a titan male that somehow came to be because I mean it's kind of like impossibility right now because of all sorts of historical circumstances, or another idea they like to say that I am actually female that like changed their appearance to male, which is incredibly, I mean, it's so, I mean, it's like a lie that is so, I mean, manifestly wrong that, I mean, you don't even know how to falsify such a thing, because it's so stupid, I mean, so untrue and manifestly wrong, and I mean, I don't even know what to say about it. But yes, it's always something that they like to say about me, that I'm kind of like a female that changed their sex to male. the reality is that I'm first of all, of course I'm a male and I'm not a titan, but another species which have some relations. Which is like in a way it's kind of like a guardians of the titans, but also guardians of humans. But let's put it aside, like the historical context here, because it's not that we only intervened with their civilization. We intervened very well with your own civilization for a long time now. So if for those that say, who gave you the right to intervene with our culture? So so please give us back like the Ramayana, the Iliad, the Odyssey, of course the Bible, of course the like the New Testament. So if you can give all of it back, then let's start to speak about the issue of intervention, of whether it's good or not to intervene, because we're doing it for a long time now. Anyway, so it was discovered that this is like a way to create children, like foreign children here on Earth, and immediately after that, a disgusting project is started, where first the Israelis did everything that they can for me not to raise my daughters in the most cruel way, and eventually I fought like for 7 years so much, and I've been I fought it so hard just for the right and the duty to raise my daughters, and actually and I succeeded for 7 years, and they were since they were born until like half a year ago, almost half of the time they were with me, and I raised them for almost half of the time, and it contributed immensely to the well-being and education, emotional state of everything that is related to how children are growing. It's not different from other children. But after these 7 years of wars, eventually the Israeli state managed to do their thing and to take their daughters away from me. And the reason why it was so important for them, because on the same time they started another project. As I said, they already had two projects that relates to me. First, the selling of the Titans, that is not directly relates to me, but the uses of the Titans, and especially their ability to change their form, relates to taking the nanobots for me. So selling the Titans is indirectly relates to them holding me and taking everything from me by force. And the other thing is selling of the drug, which also, indirectly, it requires my presence. But then they thought, okay, we have another business opportunity here. Why not we sell alien babies? These are extremely, it's extremely valuable commodity for also in Israel, but also in other places as well, because, people want many people all over the world would have wanted the females Titans actually have babies, because then they will have another generation of slaves, because getting more slaves from Venus is not something that they can always be done, because the gate sometimes is closed. Right now it's closed, and they don't even know when it's closed and when it's not, because mainly because they don't understand that this is done by a consciousness entity. They think it's either something completely random, or I don't know, I don't know, it's the sun is like a sandstorm, or they have all sorts of crazy ideas, instead of that understanding the obvious, that it's closed and opened by thinking creatures, by entities that are consciousness, and they do it for a reason. But this eludes the Israelis for some reason. But everyone understands that it's not something that you can always do. And some people actually have a little bit of moral disdain from the slave raids, which are of course terrible, and disgusting. But and of course it was traditionally done by the Israelis. There's everything else that is terrible and disgusting, because the Americans and the Europeans, they have such high values. They're not going to conduct slave raids in the 21st century, or even in the end of the 20th century. So, they can do such horrible things. But of course, it's a completely different thing to adopt helpless babies that for some reason created, we don't know how, but right now they're here, so someone needs to adopt them. And great, we have our homosexuals and pedophiles in our intelligence communities that wants babies. So what a great opportunity is that actually these babies pop up. But even they understood that, first of all, the morality of this whole projects is questionable, but more importantly, it's the supply is not like constant because the gate is sometimes it's closed. They say now it's closed. So, for example, so they thought, I mean, it would be much more convenient if these alien babies would be born in our place, like in Europe or United States, and then we'll have another like generation of slaves, and we will not be dependent on the whole issue with the gate and the perhaps questionable, like somewhat questionable issue of the slave rates. But how it is done, we need actually, I mean, to get our aliens like impregnant. So yeah, so the Israelis thought, okay, let's sell his semen, and like for another purpose, which is to make babies. Of course, he cannot know anything about it at all. And of course, this, I mean, in order for this to be done, I mean, we allow something that they did not allow in the past. I mean, in the past, I mean, it was like one of the paradigms is that no one like outside of Israel actually, I mean, like is in contact with me. Even though I visited many countries in my life, like, and like, I mean, even like I even worked in the United States and studied. I mean, but I mean, until now, I don't understand how this was all done, with presumably without them knowing it. Of course, they knew, but I mean, as I said in the beginning of this video, the other intelligence agencies of this world, particularly the Americans, it was like a show. I mean, it's like a theater show that they presumably they don't know anything about me, and they only hear about me from the Israelis, and they hear horrible stuff. Always like they paint me in the worst possible ways, but because it was convenient for everyone. It's not really that they didn't know the truth, and it was easy to know the truth, but it was convenient. I mean, it was kind of a theater show that is convenient for everyone. But for that reason, like for the reason of like me being like, I mean, the potential father of babies without me even knowing, they even, I mean, allowed like other like, I mean, like females and the homosexual like partners from other places to actually observe me in all sorts of like natural situation that I will not, I mean, of course, always with like trials and tests that I'm not aware of, and always with a lot of like, I mean, and I always like, I mean, it's always ends the worst for me, and like, and at best with like emotional damage, and like, and probably, I mean, mostly with also like with also other damages. Like I was treated like, I mean, less than an animal on the process. But this is also something that, I mean, relatively recently, they added like to their portfolio or of products that relates to, I mean, to the slave. That now it can potentially be a father without his knowledge, using all sorts of like, I mean, methods that are the most disgusting that you can think of, and then that's why, I mean, they can get even more money from abroad, and the people of abroad, specifically of the most progressive states, I mean, actually followed suit and said, oh yeah, well, this is great. But there is only one point here. It was very important for everyone involved, especially for the people that are faint of art or all sort of like sensitivities. It was very important for them that it will be demonstrated that I cannot raise my own children, that I am a monster that cannot raise his own children, and it's an abomination to think that he can raise them. So everyone will be very, like, you feel great that, I mean, yes, I mean, it's so, I mean, we are doing the correct thing in that we actually, without his knowledge, take this sperm and getting these aliens like pregnant, and then they will be raised by fathers that, I mean, homosexuals and pedophiles for all sorts of like intelligence communities. We are actually doing like a great favor to these babies. First of all, because of us, they are born. I mean, otherwise they would not born. So I mean, it's good to be born. So we are doing them a favor, and we are doing them a great favor that they will actually, I mean, be raised in such a lovely and caring family. I mean, with people that I belong to the intelligence community, so they have the support of the states, and it's always a progressive state, and I mean, and so these are progressive people with great values, and like, so they will be born and will be raised in the most tolerant environment, and we know that they will be given the best, like, you know, and most updated values, and of course they will not miss anything, because I mean their parents have jobs, steady jobs, that are supplied by the states. Like, so, and what's the other options? That their monster father will raise them? Who knows, what they will do to them? Maybe we'll eat them alive. We don't even know. He's a monster. He cannot even raise his own children, and they were separated for him by court of law just after they were born, because it was demonstrated so prominently that he's the monster that cannot raise any children at all. Now you understand why I keep saying that this review of the social workers that was submitted to court after 7 years, that I raised my children almost after time, and they were raised perfectly in any possible in any possible parameter. They were raised to be smart and sensitive and loving and caring. They are the sweetest two princesses for 7 years now, 6 and 7 years now. But it was so important for these social workers that they will be detached from me, because it was a project that started when they were born. It was always the main interest of the state of Israel, but not only of the state of Israel, but also of its clients, especially in the most progressive states in this world, that I will be a monster that cannot raise his children, even if it's demonstrated so for many years that it's not true. But it was in their hearts that it will be portrayed this way, because they wanted this extra product to be sold. Because they wanted not only to sell the titans and the drug, but also to sell babies. Babies that will presumably be born to father that is such a monster that, the court didn't allow him to even see his own daughters. That is why this was a declaration of war that was done by humanity, not by the Israelis, by humanity. This review of the social workers was the interest of the strongest countries of this world, and first of all, the United States of America. They started a war with the cherubs, and this will be by far the worst war that you have ever, any of you, participated in throughout your whole history.